If you've never seen a farmer fight back, well, you're about to. See where I'm from? In this little pocket of Colorado, power doesn't always mean what you think it does. Sometimes it's not about lights or water at all. Sometimes it's about knowing when to stand your ground, even if it means turning the whole world upside down for a few days just to prove a point. I didn't set out to be the guy who brought darkness to an entire neighborhood. All I wanted was to fix my grandfather's old barn, swap out that battered tin roof that had stood since 1874, maybe keep a little piece of family history alive. But of course, around here, nothing's ever that simple. Our HOA president, Miranda Thornfield. Yeah, you know the type, all pearls and power suits, never had mud on her shoes, decided my rustic eyesore didn't fit with the community's design standards. She sent me this glossy, lawyered-up demand letter telling me I wasn't allowed to fix my own barn. Not until I submitted a professionally appropriate renovation plan. Or else. 3 days later, I get another warning. If I don't jump through their hoops within 48 hours, I'm headed to the disciplinary board. What Miranda didn't know, what almost nobody knew, was that my family had a little secret. And in a town built on handshakes and history, that secret was more powerful than any HOA fine, any board meeting, any carefully worded threat. My name's Cooper Stormweather, 36 years old, third generation on this patch of land. Dad left it all to me when he passed house barn, and one hell of a legacy. You see, 60 years back, my granddad cut a deal with the county. The power company needed to run lines through our property to reach the new subdivision. But Grandpa was sharp. He insisted we keep legal ownership and control over those electrical and water systems. Folks said he was paranoid. Turned out he was a prophet. That's how in 2019 I found myself in a court battle with the power company, and I won. The right to maintain and control the systems that supplied 47 surrounding homes. My dad always said, "Son, you don't use that kind of power for revenge. You use it to protect what's right. Save it for when there's no other choice." Well, this was that choice. I'll never forget the last real talk I had with Dad right before the end. His hand squeezed mine, voice ragged from cancer, but eyes still bright as morning. "Remember, Coop? Sometimes you gotta wake folks up. Sometimes the only way they see the light is if you turn it off first." 2 days later, we walked to the basement together down those creaky stairs. He pulled open a hidden panel behind the furnace, and there it was. A control panel that looked like something out of a Cold War movie. Every switch labeled with an address on Willow Creek Drive. That barn. It wasn't just lumber and nails, it was the story of our family. 4 generations of sweat calluses, lessons learned and lost. And maybe I'm stubborn, but I wasn't about to let anyone erase that just because it clashed with some HOA president's fantasy of suburban perfection. Miranda made her entrance like a thunderstorm, heels stabbing the gravel, iPad in hand, not a hair out of place. She barely said hello before hitting me with aesthetic violation notice number 1. I tried to explain, keep my cool talk about history and the county registry. She just waved me off. Emotions don't override legal obligations, Mr. Stormweather. That night I stared at the basement door for hours. I remembered Dad's warning, but I also remembered how this land survived because someone always stood up to bullies. By 2:17 a.m., my patience wore thin. I flipped Miranda's address off for exactly 7 minutes. Nothing major, just a test. She called the utility company. They told her what they always tell folks. "Everything looks normal, ma'am." 2 days later, Miranda was back. This time she was done with the velvet glove. I had 72 hours to submit a full architectural plan, or she'd slap me with a $10,000, $1,000 fine and potential legal action. She looked me dead in the eye and said I'd be very careful about any electrical games you might be considering. That's when I called Earl Kowalski, my neighbor, old friend of Dad's, and a man who knew the value of standing together. "Earl," I said, "it's time." His laugh was low and dangerous. "About damn time, boy." That's when Operation Blackout was born. We spread blueprints over my grandfather's workbench. The plan was simple. Hour 0 when Miranda dropped her final warning hour, 24, a warning shot hour, 48, a targeted demo hour, 72 total blackout. Your daddy built this to protect the people. Earl reminded me, let's use it. But things never go as planned, do they? Earl came back from Murphy's Diner the next morning, face grim. Mailman says Miranda's been meeting with resort developers. $90 million deal. Only thing in her way, your barn. That hit like a punch. This wasn't about looks or regulations. Miranda wanted to wipe out anything that threatened her payout, including my family's history. By that afternoon, Miranda was back, this time with 2 lawyers, a property assessor, and a county inspector who looked like he wanted to be anywhere but there. She tried to put on a show, but I'd stopped being polite. "You sure you want to do this, ma'am?" I asked, letting her know I was done playing. That night at 9:47, Earl and I flipped the switch blackout, 3 minutes and 17 seconds neighborhood-wide. When the lights came back, every smart doorbell had the same message. This was a demonstration. 48 hours remain. Yeah, that happened. Miranda didn't get scared. She got strategic. Hired private security, blasted the neighborhood with social media posts about infrastructure terrorism, started calling in federal authorities. The whole community was whipped up, some folks scared, some angry, most just confused. Within a day, she sent me a certified letter accusing me of domestic terrorism and cyber warfare, told me to cease all activities or face federal charges. But the twist, Jessica Chen, the HOA treasurer, quietly reached out, said she had evidence I should see. We met at the 24-hour diner. She slid me a USB drive, bank records, emails, recorded threats. Miranda had embezzled over $340,000, sold out everyone's personal data to the casino company, bullied anyone who got in her way. Jessica's hands were shaking, but she looked me dead in the eye. I can't let her destroy our community. Hour 71. I'm in the basement, hands hovering over the master switch, Jessica's drive beside me, Dad's voice in my head. "You wake them up, son, but don't you ever hurt them." At 8:00 p.m. sharp, I fired up the live stream, 47 viewers to start, then hundreds, then thousands, as the word spread. At 8:01, blackout. Total. Every house but mine plunged into darkness. My voice came through speakers I'd planted days before. "This is not a terrorist attack. This is your neighbor exercising his legal rights." Then I broadcast every piece of evidence. The HOA money, the secret deals, the lies. Comments exploded, people furious, demanding answers. The FBI showed up before the lights even came back on. I watched on the security feed as agents strode into the community center, Miranda still trying to spin her story, floodlights bouncing off her white-knuckled grip on a megaphone. But the spell was broken. People wanted the truth. Why did our fees double? Where's our money? Why didn't you tell us about the sale? The questions rolled like thunder. Sirens, then the final act. "Miranda Thornfield, you're under arrest for embezzlement, wire fraud, and conspiracy to commit real estate fraud." The crowd cheered as agents cuffed her phone cameras, blazing HOA documents flying like confetti as she tripped over her own table. 15 minutes later, I restored the power except for Miranda's place, which was now a federal crime scene. The whole neighborhood was buzzing. Strangers hugging stories coming out, folks who'd been threatened with fines for flowers, mailbox heights, or just not fitting Miranda's idea of uniformity. That Saturday, we had the biggest potluck I've ever seen, right in my rebuilt barn, every beam echoing with laughter again. Earl rebuilt my grandfather's workbench. Jessica and I started talking more than just neighbors now. And you know what? The county declared my barn a historic asset. The new HOA board. Yeah, Earl's the interim president, voted to protect our history instead of erasing it. Even better, a real developer came knocking, offering us $2.3 million to make the barn the heart of a new eco-resort with discounted homes for every current resident. We voted together as neighbors. This time nobody bullied anyone. A year later, I'm still here watching kids build birdhouses in the barn workshop, Jessica by my side. My book, The Blackout Chronicles, became an Amazon bestseller. We set up a nonprofit to help other folks stand up to HOA bullies all across the country. Ranger's now a certified therapy dog. Earl's my right-hand man, and we've seen more healing than I ever thought possible. Miranda, 7 years in federal prison. At her sentencing, she finally broke down and said, "I lost my way trying to control everything because I lost so much. I didn't hate her. Honestly, I pitied her. Sometimes people cling to power because they're afraid of what life looks like without it." Congress even passed new laws because of what happened here. The Storm Weather Act, they call it. Now HOAs have to answer to real oversight, no more unchecked tyrants. And our little community became a beacon, not because we shut people out, but because we finally remembered what being neighbors means. Power, I learned, isn't about what you can take away. It's about what you give back. So let me ask you, ever face someone who thought authority meant pushing everyone around? An HOA boss, a manager, a neighbor? Share your story below. Maybe your experience will light the way for someone else. And if you believe in this kind of justice, hit like, subscribe, or chip in to keep these stories alive. You've got more power than you think. And when you use it right, you might just change your whole world.